Roger, thank you for your time. Are junior miners dwindling in this country?
I wouldn't say that they're dwindling, Karabo. I think that what's happening at the moment is that junior miners, it's a sector which has grown a heck of a lot in the last 20 years, but it's a sector which needs a lot of nurturing, and the junior mining sector is struggling at the moment, and that's because we, as a country, are not creating a really enabling framework for them to operate. The rules and regulations which apply to junior miners does create a lot of challenges for us to attract the investment dollars that we need in exploration and to get it right through into early stage project development and project development itself. So there's a lot that we can do as a country to make the emerging mining space and the junior mining space a lot more easier to do business and a lot more attractive, but it's going to take teamwork between government and business to do that.
You, as the Minerals Council of South Africa, formerly the Chamber of Mines, you have a group of representatives, rather, for the junior miners, about 200 of them in the country. There seems to be a constant cry that could we have legislation that looks differently at junior miners than it does at bigger companies? And one of them being the fact that should we be making special provisions for junior miners when it comes to the mining charter?
And the answer to the question is yes, we do represent both junior and emerging miners, so both of them. We have over 200, actually over 250 junior mining members. We have a newly established Emerging Miners Leadership Forum, and they sit on our council, on the board of the Minerals Council, and the objective is to make sure that the emerging miner and junior miner issues are brought to the attention of all the different companies, so we are dealing with the interests of both large and small companies. The answer to your question is yes, we do need to have an environment which allows for either a differentiation or phasing in over a period of the different elements, for example, in the charter type arrangements, because at the exploration level, as soon as you put ownership requirements on exploration, are you going to get the venture capital funded explorers who are sitting in the DRC and sitting in West Africa and in other parts of the world? Are you going to get them in the country or not? And if the answer is not, what do we do to make that an attractive proposition to get them here so that they can find the stuff when you develop the stuff, when you find things that can be developed at bankable pre-feasibility level, which can be funded by the banks, etc. That's when you start imposing a number of the different requirements around transformation, etc. So my point of departure is, I think unless we make some allowances and create a much more enabling space for the junior sector, it's going to be a sector that continues to struggle and will continue to have a lot of illegal mining taking place instead of more legal mining.
Final question. South Africa is part of a collective on the continent, but we also compete with the continent, which has mining interest as well. How much is our lack of policy certainty holding us back, and are we losing to our African peers?
There's no doubt in my mind that South Africa for the last 5 years has lost considerable space and ground to some of our African counterparts. I'm not saying all of them. There are challenges in places like Tanzania and others. But if you look at countries like Zimbabwe, new leadership, fresh changes, looking at trying to attract investment back into their sector. You've got some very consistent regulatory frameworks in Namibia, Botswana, etc. So yes, we're losing out to those, and we're losing out because of policy and regulatory uncertainty. And so the changes that have taken place in South Africa since December, we obviously with a new president in place, President Ramaphosa, with a new minister in place, are we making progress? The answer is definitely yes. There's positive, proper engagement taking place, and we're looking at trying to take Team South Africa forward. So this is very much creating the space for taking South Africa forward. We do need to get the charter sorted out. We do need to get the MPRDA amendment bill sorted out. But it's not only getting the policy sorted out, it's making sure that stakeholders are working together at a leadership level to achieve nation developing outcomes that are in everyone's interest.
GDP numbers out today. We saw from the last data, mining was lagging. In fact, it took quite a dip, about 8%. What are you expecting?
Mining production continues to be under stress. In the last 5 years, real net investment in the mining sector has fallen by more than 40%. So companies are not even covering depreciation in the way that they're investing and spending in South Africa. So it's very difficult for companies to sustain production levels. As much as we've seen an improvement in global economic and global commodity conditions, in fact, the global commodities cycle has definitely picked up a lot. I think we're missing out on the cycle from a volume perspective and that's obviously disappointing. But hopefully, as we go through the course of this year and we get these various chunks of legislation and others sorted out and get back to the business of mining, we can really make progress and get this industry back on its feet. And that's the promise of what the Minerals Council brings to the table, is working in partnership with all stakeholders to realize the true economic and transformational potential of our country.